What's up, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of Variant the Podcast. We have some cool topics today. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about today. We got some comic stuff, lots of trailer news, movie news, TV news, Watchmen's coming up.
I'm just here for the Mandalorian, man. That's it. That's the only reason. There's a lot of other things to talk about. I'm just here for the Mandalorian. That's why I'm here today.
Just so you're gonna leave, right?
That's it. I'm gonna talk. We're gonna talk. I'm waiting to talk about the Mandalorian, and then I'm just out.
All right. I mean,
you're on your own after that.
Okay, leave me in the trenches. But before we get into that, let's remind everyone where you could listen to this podcast, and that we have a Variant the Podcast YouTube channel, which you could go subscribe to and watch this also on there. And then also we're on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. Just want to remind you guys, and in case this is the first episode you're watching, and all the links for that are going to be in the description.
Yeah, we're still a new podcast, so links for everything. If you're watching this on YouTube, whether it's on the main Variant channel or the Variant the Podcast YouTube channel, links for all the audio versions of the podcast are in the description as always. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, the link for the YouTube channel is also in the description of the episode. So it's everywhere. You can't miss it.
No. But with that out of the way, let's dive in. And first up, we're actually going to talk about a buddy of ours, Comic Tom, and his mystery mail call. We've talked about it several times on the show, especially this last month when we teamed up to do another giveaway with him. So we got one of his mystery mail calls right here.
Which, by the way, it's been a week, but congratulations to the 5 winners. Of the giveaway of the original first print copy of The Killing Joke, Batman: The Killing Joke.
I'm jealous. I don't even have one, so I'm very jelly.
But we've been talking about the mystery mail call now on the show for a few weeks. No, longer than that, really.
Yeah, because we even
talked
a while. Yeah,
it's because we said it many times already. People think that they're sponsors. Tom does not sponsor our show in any way.
He does not.
We've become friends over time, but it's just really because we love what they do.
Yeah, Tom, he's become a really close friend of mine just personally now. I talk to him like almost every day. He's like he's actually
he's
one of my
actual friend,
he's a really good friend of mine now. And he has a mystery mail call, and like anything, if we like something or whatever, and we think it brings value to the community or the any collectors of comic books, we want to talk about it. And I genuinely do think this is one of those things.
And to be clear, like I like what he does so much. I personally support it. I pay I subscribe to the mystery mail call myself personally, and actually this is my October mystery mail call box. So I brought it on set.
So we show and tell, Tim.
It's show and tell time.
It's show and tell.
Yeah. So I figured we pop it open on set and
let's see what you got.
I actually cracked the box, but then I was like, hey, let's open it on camera. So I figured we open it up and see what we got.
Cool. Well, before we go in, can we just look at like the box for people who are watching this?
This is what you get.
Yeah.
This is what you get for those watching. It comes in its own. It's a branded box. Pretty dope.
Super cool.
And that's Tom peeking around the corner there with his glasses on. But everything
comes a sexy silhouette.
But it comes wrapped in a bag and stuff like that, and you get a pretty sweet spread of prints and comics and stuff like that. One of these, this one. You get like this card that just kind of details everything that's in that month's mail call. And then you get several different comics. So in this month we've got the Uncanny X-Men issue 178.
Oh, I see we got the Blob on the cover.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
You got the Blob. You got Nightcrawler coming through there.
Storm, all that good stuff.
We've got a signed copy of Ghost Spider #1.
Ooh.
Yeah,
signed by the artist, huh?
That's signed by the writer.
Oh, the writer? Okay.
McGuire.
Look at that.
That's pretty sweet. That's signed. Everything is bagged and boarded. And then we've got a Lady Death print here of some kind. Ooh. I don't know. There's a lot of flesh as well.
A lot of what? Lady Death. Oh, this is actually a really cool comic. If you guys haven't read Lady Death, definitely check it out.
Oh, this is nice. This is this is pretty sweet. This is is this like a, where's the card? Is this a custom print?
It's an so with every mystery mail call box, you get an exclusive print. And last month's was a Joker print after Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Okay.
Yeah. So
this is an exclusive print by Kevin Esslinger.
Follow him on Instagram.
And it's signed of the Joker from Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie. So that's pretty dope right there. That's going to end up in a frame in my office.
For real, that is really cool.
And then we've got Cosmic Ghost Rider issue 5.
I mean, everyone loves Cosmic Ghost Rider. He's one of the coolest brand new characters.
We've got a Tank Girl #1, Action Alley.
Which is really cool because rumor has it that Margot Robbie is going to be attached to play Tank Girl in a live-action movie.
I heard this,
yeah,
which is pretty cool. And then this is the exclusive.
The Comic Tom exclusive.
Yeah, the Comic Tom Mystery Mail Call exclusive. Show's End by Mad Cave is number 1, and it's a throwback
to All-Star Comics issue 5, Wonder Woman's first appearance.
Yeah, Wonder Woman's first appearance. So that's pretty amazing, man. These are, so this is just one example, and I've been a subscriber to Mystery Mail Call for a few months, and every single box that you get is quite different from the last. And I've gotten everything from trades to the hardcover, collections. To individual issues, some great individual issues. So this is a great example to you guys of what you get in the Mystery Mail Call. So if you're interested, we'll throw links for Mystery Mail Call in the description of the show.
And
on
we
the
also
YouTube channel,
we also want to let you guys know that November, or I guess October's mailbox, or November, the current Mystery Mail Call box that's going to be sign-up's going to end on November 15th is actually you'll be getting a Comic Tom exclusive Undiscovered Country variant cover. And if you guys don't know what Undiscovered Country is, it's Scott Snyder and Charles Soule's brand new Image title.
I'm really looking forward to reading
that.
So
it's
so curious.
The book has been getting a lot of hype. It's already been optioned for a live-action film, and Tom has an exclusive variant cover for that, where there's less than 1,000 copies, and he's close. Wow. He's close to having everyone, to being sold out already. So if you want that, link in the description, because I know I need that.
I honestly, I think of the comics that are coming out, I think that's the one that I might be the most excited to read, because it falls, it kind of falls in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's not a superhero book.
No, it's not a superhero book. It's kind of it's a dystopian world.
America's been blocked off and all that stuff.
So it's just fascinating concept.
Apparently it's a team book too. I was on YouTube.
Yes.
Scott Snyder has a YouTube channel.
I was reading about it last night.
Yeah, he has a YouTube channel. He posted a video promoting his new Justice League issue and Undiscovered Country dropping this week. And he said, he showed us the first 2 pages of it, and he's like, it's actually a team book. This is the scientist, this is the philosopher, or whatever, he was saying, and kind of going through the team members. So that's actually really interesting.
Very interesting.
I guess it's going to be like Walking Dead-esque in that sense, where there's it's like a
just
group.
Without the zombies.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, who knows?
Well, yeah. I hope not, because that's so played out at this point.
Right.
That's just my opinion anyway.
But speaking of comics, let's segue into some 2 comics actually that I read over the weekend.
Ones.
Yes, that I was very excited for. So we talked about on the main variant episodes on the channel that we were very excited for John Carpenter to be releasing a Joker Year of the Villain.
We talked about this all the way back at after San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, even in that, the first podcast 0.
Podcast 0, the 0 issue.
Yeah. And I was very excited for it because John Carpenter is obviously a horror legend. The Thing, freaking Halloween. I can go on for days of all the horror movies and stuff.
He's an icon in that space.
100%. And he co-wrote this book. He co-wrote The Joker. So I was like, oh, I gotta read this because I'm a big fan of Halloween. And just all that stuff.
Just the concept alone of John Carpenter playing in the Joker, with the Joker.
And DC knew that because it's also going to bring people who don't read comics over. They'll be like, oh, you find out, Carpenter is writing a Joker comic. You're like, well, I gotta read the comic because it's a one-shot too. It ties into the Year of the Villain event, but it's very much its own contained thing. You don't have to have read, all of the Year of the Villain, which is really nice. But with that said, it was really, really cool. The thing, I'm not gonna. I guess I have to give a little bit of spoilers. So spoilers.
Spoiler alert to everyone who has, because it is a brand new comic. So if you haven't read the Joker issue,
it's been out for 2 weeks. I read it late. I think it's been out for 2 weeks now or whatever.
Yeah, which isn't very long in the comic book world.
No. Point is. Basically, the comic centers around Joker breaking out someone out of Arkham Asylum, and he has this mentally ill guy follow him around Arkham to commit crimes and stuff like that, which is it's a really, really cool concept. It's almost like the Joker graphic novel by Brian Azzarello, but it gives you that dynamic of what it would be like to follow the Joker for one night doing crime. The problem is, since this guy is mentally ill, he thinks, he's basically convinced by the Joker to do all this stuff. He doesn't necessarily want to. He actually has a mental illness, which is really sad. And that's kind of the whole point of the book. By the end, it's like the whole point was to show that a lot of people are mentally ill, right? They do evil things and stuff, but it's not necessarily their fault in the sense where they actually have a problem. They're not. But the Joker, one of the things they say in the comic book at the end is the Joker is sane, and he actually is not like a psychopath or mentally ill.
He's fully aware of what he's doing. He's cognizant of their choices.
And that, they literally say the line, he's pure evil, which pushes that point, if you read any Joker story kind of like this, that this is why the Joker is Batman's arch enemy. Right. And one of, if not the craziest villain in all of comics. And it's really, really cool. And you even get little beats. Like there's this one line, they're driving in the car together, and the Joker says to his new partner, Jeremy, or whatever, that he tells him a joke, basically. And he's like, there was this boy, and he tells his father, I can't stop spinning in circles. And his father yells at him, saying, if you don't stop yelling, I'm going to nail your other foot to the floor.
Right.
And I was just like, oh. And it just kind of, it gives you that twisted sense of humor. Where like, oh, the poor kid is yelling for his father to let him free because he nailed his other foot. And now his father's like, if you don't stop yelling, I'm going to nail both your feet to the floor. And it's just that weird, twisted, like, you know, sense of humor. And then it even makes you think like, you know, the writers have to think of this stuff to write this. So you have to very much get into that mindset. You know, to write a character like the Joker, you have to get in that mindset. And it's just a really good book. I really, really enjoyed it.
It's
really
I think
fun.
Joker is always a fun character to play with because you can toss back and forth like what John Carpenter did, where he's not crazy. Like that becomes the ultimate premise. Where is he crazy or is he just evil?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and you can play with that versus like what they did with Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. You know, where they're dealing with someone who's clearly mentally ill, and then they just, because of X, Y, or Z reason, they just give in to their illness, and that they allow that to run the show. So you can play with so many different versions of the character, and it's. I mean, there's a good reason why he's the most popular villain in all of comics.
It's a fascinating concept, and one last beat I'll mention is the Joker basically he does steal a Batman and a Robin costume that are based off of the 66 Adam West and Burt Ward costumes. So he tells his new partner, quote unquote, so to speak, to put on the costume, and they go around pretending they're Batman and Robin saving crime or saving people around the city.
When you see the art of them dressed in the Batman and Robin costume, it's really funny.
But
gruesome, disturbing, funny.
And it's one of those books, I will say, last thing I'll say about it is you definitely have to read it. Like I can talk about it and stuff, but it's very dialogue driven, and the beats, you have to read it the way he placed the beats out in the book. So just read it. It's really, really good because there's lots of little nuances and stuff.
I'm about 10 pages in.
Okay.
I didn't get through the whole thing. But what I read of it's just so well written.
Yeah, really.
So I can't wait to finish it.
Very, very
Thank you for spoiling the end. I really appreciate it.
Well, with that said, one thing I will say, though, there's also a Brian Boland variant cover for this issue.
Yes.
And Brian Boland is the artist for The Killing Joke. So if you can get your hands on that variant cover, you're definitely going to want to do that. It's actually very sought after right now because Brian Boland, it's this awesome just like portrait.
It's a beautiful cover
of Joker on there, which is really, really, really cool. But moving on, we got one more comic to talk about before we get into like TV and movies, all that stuff.
I'm just here for the Mandalorian. I'm just waiting.
We got Basketful of Heads, which is Joe Hill's brand new comic book series. He's got a line of comics being released at Black Label, DC's Black Label, which is their new, basically what Vertigo turned into. And I've been really, really excited for this.
You've been anxiously awaiting this.
Yes, because it's hard to find good horror comic books.
It is.
I mean, they're out there, but they're kind of indie, so you kind of have to hunt them down. Yeah. So with Joe Hill,
look no further than Stephen King's son.
That's exactly. I was gonna say Joe Hill is, for those of you who don't know, is Stephen King's son. So he's done novels like Horns and Box Shaped Heart and all that stuff. So I was very, very excited for this book, and I read the first issue, and I really, really enjoyed it. I love it. It's written really, really well, which it's to be expected.
Right. Not surprising.
Yeah, it's Joe Hill. Basically, it's purely set up, though. There is no real horror beats or anything yet. He's basically just establishing the world and stuff right now, introducing you to the two main characters, which is June and Liam. They're basically their boyfriend and girlfriend. Basically, the premise is now she's coming to visit her boyfriend, who's a cop for the summer. On the last day of summer, it's his last day, so he's no longer a cop. And basically criminals get set loose, so they basically hide at the sheriff's house, and towards the end of the comics stuff happens. I don't really want to spoil this one too much.
Don't spoil it. Don't spoil it.
Stuff happens, but we get hints of where it's gonna go. We do know the premise, the synopsis of the book is there's this magical axe or cursed axe that it chops off heads, and then the heads of its victims still stay alive and they're sentient. They can talk.
Right.
So
Which that's all in the synopsis.
Right. Yes. So that's not a spoiler. That's literally if you read the synopsis of the book. So that's where it's going. And I'm excited to get to that point, and it just looks really. I'm in. Again, not too much happens. It's all set up. But
set up.
He did enough to make you care, like any good writer would do.
I mean, we're gonna get into this later. It's kind of like watching the Watchmen.
Yes.
You know, you gotta stay with it.
Yeah,
You
for
know
sure.
what I mean? So I'm looking forward to see that unfold.
But before we get into the Mandalorian, which I know you
I'm just
desperately
waiting, man.
which you desperately want to talk about, so we're gonna get into
I'm
next.
a patient bear.
Before we get out of comics, I do want to mention though, I did recently become an affiliate with Key Collector app.
That's right.
Which I know you've used a little bit too and stuff.
Yep.
I've actually been using it for 2 months now because before I shared it with you guys, I wanted to know how it works, if I actually do enjoy it and all that stuff, because I would never want to share anything with you guys that I didn't actually love. Hence me rarely talking about stuff like this.
Right.
But this is a really, really cool app. Basically what it is, it's an app for iOS or Android. The best way to explain it is you could become a comic book expert in the amount of time it takes to download an app. Because what the app is it's called Key Collector, but basically you put in any title you want. Like let's say you love Spider-Man. You put in Spider-Man in the search titles, and it's going to give you all the key issues for Spider-Man. So you'll get the first appearance of Gwen Stacy, Ben Parker.
It's just such a super cool concept.
Right. And I've used it for variant to write episodes because I don't know, I don't know every single first appearance. That's impossible. Right. There's too many dang characters. And I've gone on it and, looked up to be like, when did this character first appear? And it's faster than Googling it. And there's lots of cool stuff on there. There's a spec deck where with all the movies and TV shows we're constantly talking about here on this podcast and just in general, comics shoot up. So, let's say we're going to talk about this later. They just announced a Green Lantern series for the HBO.
Also really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, so Green Lantern comics are spiking right now. And in that little tab inside the app, it tells you what comics you may want to buy now where they're $5. And then, 6 months to a year from now, they're going to be like 50, 100, or God knows how much.
Which is amazing. If you're a collector, that's something you need to have that.
Really, really cool.
You need to have that.
Again, no smoke up you guys' butts. There's a reason why I rarely, if ever, talk about stuff. I really do like this app, and again,
and that's a really important point. We say it on the show from time to time. We try to make a point to say, we don't have a ton of advertisers on our show on purpose. We don't recommend a ton of things on purpose. Some people might think maybe you don't notice, maybe you do, but it is by design, and that is because we try to be very cautious of what companies, what products, whatever it is, what advertisers we present to you guys. We want to make sure it's something we believe in, we like,
100%.
we use ourselves, and it's something that we think is worth your time. And money, honestly, because these things all cost money, in the end, if you're going to use it or whatever. So, like he said, Key Collector is something that we've been using for a while. He's been using even more than me, and to where we get to know these things like the mystery mail call. He's not a sponsor of the show, like we said, at all. It's just stuff that we like. We're going to tell you guys about when we find something that we really like, we really think is useful and valuable to the community. We're going to bring it to you guys, and hopefully you can learn that if we say that, it's because we really mean it.
100%. And the cool thing is, if you download the app, again, on iOS or Android, and you go to the Welcome tab that has a Key Collector logo, you type in the promo code Arris, just my name, you'll get the first week free. And then after that, it's only $1.99 a month.
Which is like nothing.
Just like nothing, or $19.99 for the year. And if you do it, you buy the year just straight up, you're basically getting 2 months for free.
Right. And just the simple piece where it tells you what books are relevant for you to buy. I mean, the possible revenue... the amount of appreciation on those things that you can get alone would pay for the
no BS
subscription.
I actually told you a few weeks ago I went to Half Price Books and I had it up because they have the spec deck there, and it was a Suicide Squad comic, I believe, and I saw that this particular issue was like spec, so I bought it for like $5. Now it's like $30. So that alone paid for the whole year. Plus $10. Right. And that's just one instance.
eBay.
No joke. They even have, if you want to buy the comics right out, they even have links to the comics. Like, let's say I look Batman 1. Right. He has built-in links, so it'll take you right to eBay, and you can just buy it online. But really cool app. So if you guys want to check that out, iOS, Android, called Key Collector, and I'm sure we'll put links and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, we'll throw a link in the description for it for sure.
But now, Tim, on to what you want to talk about the most. We have.
Wouldn't you agree?
Solid, bro. Solid. Okay, Mandalorian, the second trailer. Kick it off, Tim.
It
Go.
is time.
Go.
So it's been a little while. The Mandalorian trailer, of course, has been out for a little while now. The most recent one. All right, and we didn't talk about it last week. We had seen it, but we didn't talk about it because we had another long list of things. We meant to get to it, but we didn't. But this week it was like, okay, we're not skipping it again because it releases tomorrow.
Yes.
We get our first.
You know, before you go on your rant, which I do want to hear, are we going to watch this together? We're going to have like a viewing party. We didn't talk about this.
We didn't talk about it.
No.
Oh, my God.
We need to have like a viewing party.
We have to do this.
Okay.
Because we're going to be talking about it.
100%.
Let me tell you something. Star Wars, and I've told, we talked about in the very first episode, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. You know this very well, more than most. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and we talked a little bit, and we said we're going to do a full Star Wars episode one day where we really get into like the most recent episodes and the whole thing.
I am down.
But right now, I'm just going to say, of all the things that Star Wars has done under the Disney era, The Mandalorian looks like it is the first thing that's like Star Wars.
I know, it looks so good.
It looks so good. It's the most expensive TV show ever produced.
Is it really?
It is
more than Game of Thrones?
More than Game of Thrones.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It has a price tag of almost $20 million an episode.
Okay. Mama.
So they pulled all the strings. They pulled out all the stops to bring
an episode. How many episodes? Is it 10 episodes?
I don't remember exactly how many episodes, but yeah, it's there's a few.
That Mickey Mouse money.
Yes, for real. But the point is that, George Lucas, when he originally, launched the Star Wars universe, he says that, there was part Western in that. This is the most Western Star Wars has ever been, and it looks glorious. The cast looks amazing. It's got Carl Weathers in it.
Dude, I love me some Carl Weathers.
But can I tell you something? From the new trailer, the thing that, I was like, yes, was when Bill Burr pops up.
Yes.
First of all, my man Bill Burr
love me some Bill Burr.
looks awesome. In that just brief moment you see him, he looks awesome. But just the fact that he parachutes in to Star Wars, I don't think he's even a big Star Wars fan.
He's not. Do you know how he got cast in that role?
He didn't know.
Apparently, one way or another, he got into conversations with Jon Favreau, I guess, through something they work, friend of a friend of a friend.
Sure.
And Favreau was basically like,
Jon Favreau's big in the comedy space.
For sure, yeah. So it's basically just, Favreau started talking to Burr. I guess he was a Bill Burr fan of the work he does. And he's like, hey, you want to be in Star Wars? I'm shooting a thing for the new streaming service. And Bill Burr was like, okay.
Could you imagine? You just bump into somebody, you get to know him, say, hey, would you want to be in Star Wars? Because I know that I did read a thing, or maybe I heard a clip. Anyway, Bill Burr saying, I didn't really grow up on Star Wars or whatever.
No.
And he didn't even really know what he was doing. And then he saw a trailer when they were releasing that initial teaser, and then he realized what he was in. And he was like, "Oh my God, I get to be in this."
It's so funny though that even Bill Burr wasn't aware the magnitude of Star Wars.
How big
what this was going to be.
Star Wars is.
It just looks so good.
But this, just from top to bottom, but the thing I'm most excited about is to see what Dave Filoni does. And it's him and Jon Favreau together. Obviously, this was written, the story especially, the concept was, this is a Jon Favreau baby.
Right.
Which I'm a big fan of Jon Favreau. I just think he's such a smart, talented filmmaker, and I think he's bringing such cool stuff especially to the geek space. If you're a fan of superheroes, of any Star Wars, anything really in the geek space, he's right there with us. So we have this incredibly talented guy who's creating content, and I just hope
he did Elf.
Yes, maybe one of the greatest Christmas films ever.
Legitimately.
I don't know how many comments we're gonna get on that one.
Dude, Elf is amazing.
It's one of the most quotable films.
Dude, yeah, I don't even care.
My lifetime.
If you don't like Elf, you don't like happiness.
Yeah. You've rejected happiness and goodness in your life.
Yeah. No, but I agree with you 100%. The Mandalorian looks you know what it is? We've talked about this too. It's a space western.
Yes.
It's a space western.
But the most western.
Yeah.
Star Wars has ever attempted.
And I read this.
I mean, there's that scene where he's pulling the guy in the trailer. He pulls the guy into the doorway, and he like a gunslinger, and he pulls his pistol.
So good.
I mean, it's just freaking awesome.
One of the coolest things, a big joke in the Star Wars universe is that like, especially the stormtrooper armor and stuff never protects them. Like they're always like dying and stuff all the time. Right. And I was actually when watching the trailer, one of the top comments was like, wow, the Mandalorian's armor actually protects him. Because in the trailer you see like a blast it ricochets off his armor. So, but I am so down, and hit the Mandalorian's voice towards the end of the trailer.
Dude, my boy,
really
director Werner Herzog, making an appearance.
His voice.
And he does the narration of that whole new trailer.
So good.
He's like, Mandalorian. That whole
bounty hunting's a complicated profession. Yeah. Wouldn't you agree?
He's so good. And he's, for those of you who don't know, he's actually a longtime writer, director. And he's got his own master classes just for directing. And that's what he's known for. So the fact that he's popping in and he plays like, I don't know how significant a role it's going to be.
It seems like he's the one hiring the Mandalorian.
But he sounds and looks great.
I know. I'm all in. Like, to kind of go off what you said earlier, out of everything that's happened under Disney with Star Wars thus far,
easily,
this definitely looks like it could be the best thing. And I'm talking about, all the new episodes, Rogue One, like anything.
And kind of going off that, we've recently had, we've got these leaks about the end of episode 9.
Yes.
Right.
Which I've stayed away from.
Which I have stayed away from too. We both stayed away from it. We saw that it happened. But what we do know is that the rumblings from the Star Wars community have not been super happy, right? So
Yep.
I don't know why. I don't want to know why. I want to see the film.
My theory is
because
the obviousness of Rey just ends up being a Skywalker, and that's Rise of Skywalker.
I don't know what it is, and I don't want to know
so
what it
on
is.
the head, though.
Yeah.
Purely just from a story.
It could be a number of things, but the fact that I'm seeing a lot of people, there's like, and so it's, man, I'm just hoping it doesn't get spoiled, because if people are unhappy, that's going to make it harder to avoid.
100%.
Because they're going to be posting on social media and all this
thing.
It's already been out there. So
what I'm going to have to do is, like, with Endgame and all that stuff, literally, I
gotta go off the grid.
No, I deleted Twitter and Instagram and Facebook
did?
For a week, for the week prior. That way, because, I'm on social media so much now, because, checking variant stuff or just personal stuff and tweets and people's,
we're always on. Honestly, I think that's the majority is
right.
Variant,
but
what I do.
It's like a muscle memory thing.
Sure.
Like, I'll just open my phone and, like, not even really thinking about it, my thumb just wants to gravitate to, like, opening Instagram. So I was like, no, I have to close it because, I don't want to accidentally do it in, like, a moment of weakness.
And that's what sucks about all these leaks, man.
Yeah.
This age where everything gets leaked. And it's like, this is, good or bad, I want to see it.
Yes.
I want to see what happens organically. I don't want to hear about the end in advance. If it sucks, if it's not great, in my personal opinion, because again, all stuff is all subjective. If I don't like it, I want to not like it in the theater.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't want to read it on freaking Twitter.
And can we also just talk about, because he was in it briefly, what's the director of Thor's name again? I forget his name.
Which one?
Thor Ragnarok.
Taika Waititi.
Taika Waititi. He's voicing IG-88.
Yeah, which is super cool.
That that mercenary or bounty hunter droid, and he looks awesome. You see him briefly in the trailer. He looks so cool.
He has such a funny voice.
Yeah.
Well, he was Korg, right?
Yes.
And he was Korg. Mm-hmm. And like, whether you like the style of Thor Ragnarok, which most people did, I fell into the category of those who that wasn't really what I was hoping for from Thor Ragnarok. But I recognize like the humor.
Right, yes.
But his voice of Korg, hilarious.
Brilliant. So I think he's going to do a fantastic job with IG-88.
Did you see the trailer for Jojo Rabbit?
Yes. Like
that.
Yes.
It's so weird. It's so weird, but it's
about
looks
Nazis
funny.
of all things?
not, but in a comedic
way. Yeah, it's like a dark comedy.
Yeah. I have
I'm gonna
to
watch
see
it.
Yeah, I have to see it. It's so weird that it's just one of those things it sparks your interest and you have to see it.
Well, speaking of dark comedy, that's a perfect segue, Tim, for our next topic.
Hold on a second.
You still want to talk about
No,
the
I'm
okay, all right.
We can move on.
The Joker, which isn't a dark comedy, but you could say it's a dark comedy because the Joker has a twisted sense of humor.
Yeah.
So that's how I spun that. That's how I spun that right there.
Yeah, that's good.
But anyway, it is closing in on $1 billion.
Yeah.
It is right there.
I think it's going to hit it.
Yeah, because right now it's at 936 million, right? Give or
Well,
take a
it
little
was last week. I don't know where it's at now.
bit? Okay, so
Yeah.
but last weekend
Over
it
the
still
weekend-
did 12 million.
Huh?
It did 12 million over this
Yeah.
past weekend.
Yeah.
So it's not really slowing down
Yeah.
much.
No.
So you got to imagine just another 3 weeks to a month in the box office is going to be the first $1 billion rated R movie.
Which is incredible. Not surprising.
No,
for
not at all.
multiple reasons. If you missed our rant in the very first episode about the Joker movie, or our spoiler review that where Arris rants about it, I mean the performances, the storytelling, the cinematography. I mean just everything across the board. It's a brilliantly made film.
Yeah.
So, but it's the Joker on top of that.
Right.
So it's not surprising at all. So not only is it one of the most iconic villains of all time in any format,
Easily.
it's also brilliantly made. So the combination of the two things, it almost seems like a surefire recipe.
With a performance by Phoenix that if he doesn't win Best Actor,
Oh, it's a
I don't
catastrophe.
Even, you just rigged.
yeah,
rigged.
just
The whole thing's
friggin',
rigged.
Yeah, protest sign, get the petitions out. I'm signing. Yeah,
But I mean, this also I think we talked about this on the first podcast. Yes, the first podcast, which is not probably why they're talking about a Joker 2.
Right.
Because when a studio,
Yeah.
when a movie makes a bunch of money, you're
you
like,
hit the big B. Yeah,
they just see dollar
like an
signs. They're
automatic.
like, oh, people will go see another one. So I feel like it's just a matter of time before
especially
we
if
get
they
a
incorporate
2.
Batman in any way.
Yes. Yeah, but again, remember like last when we talked about in the first podcast, I don't know if I'd want that. I'd want to like just go solo.
I don't
Joker
either.
thing.
But I'm saying even if he
did.
appears like in the shadows, there's like
Yeah.
hints at him. You know what I mean?
Again, like the Brian Azzarello Joker graphic novel. I feel like I've been talking a lot about that book lately.
There's a good reason for that.
Yep.
It's well done.
But yeah, I mean, it's already the #1 rated R movie of all time,
Oh, yeah.
and now it's
By a landslide.
It's probably gonna cross $1 billion. It's insane that it's taken this long to get our first $1 billion rated R movie.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No, because we're at this point we're so used to $1 billion films because of Marvel.
We're spoiled
that
now.
we
Yeah.
don't realize
Yeah.
how insane $1 billion box office number is for a film. Because, I remember growing up, if a movie made $200-300 million at the box office, it was insane. It was like, holy cow, it was like major record smashing stuff.
Right.
Now we throw around $1 billion, and granted, it's because ticket prices have gone way up,
I was gonna say
inflation, all of that kind of
100%.
stuff. But even with that, I mean, you're talking about this just in 2019 so far, we have over 700 films, I think, that have been produced and released.
That's
and
crazy.
of that, you have a handful that have hit that $1 billion mark.
I mean-
and that's with the aid of 3D and IMAX and Dolby, and those ticket prices are almost double the cost of a regular
Basically,
ticket.
20, depending on what state you're seeing it in, like $20
Right.
a ticket,
Right.
something like that.
So it definitely, but still, even with those things hitting that $1 billion mark, it is pretty freaking incredible. And the only reason that I think we're seeing it even as often is two reasons. One is nostalgia.
The
People
nostalgia
hitting that
monster
nostalgia, like with the
is
Jurassic Park,
a
right, and
crazy
stuff
thing
like
right
that.
now.
The resurgence of a lot of these franchises, but also people are getting a chance to see some of their childhood heroes for the first time in a serious live action.
For sure. I mean,
cinematic experience.
the fact that they're using the like nostalgia, these properties we grow up with or characters we grow up with. Like if it was the same exact movie, if the Joker was the same exact movie, but you just don't name it the Joker or don't focus it around in Gotham or have anything to do with the Batman character,
Right.
there is no way this movie would have hit $1 billion or anything close to it. No way.
No, because again, reason rated R movies don't make nearly as much as a PG-13 movie is because kids and young people, they make up a huge chunk of box office.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right, so when they're excited about something, when they get to go see
That's what
something,
I did every Friday night.
Yeah,
like,
man.
When I was in high school.
You go out, the family goes out, and you're adding. Instead of 2 tickets, you now have 4 or 5.
100%. Yeah.
depending.
But yeah, I mean, not much more to say about it besides it's probably going to be $1 billion.
Well, just congratulations
Yeah.
to the whole team that behind the Joker. Warner Brothers. They took a risk for sure, and man, did it pay off.
But I'm also wondering now too, is it going to be that thing where since this was so successful, is that going to be a trend of kind of doing, taking these, not even so much like a rated R movie, because that's already kind of been of a trend, with Logan, Deadpool, and all this, but more so taking an iconic character and being like, we don't care about the origin in the comics, because most superhero movies, they don't follow the comic books 100%, but for the most part, they pull the origins from the comics and stuff and try to go along with as much as they can. But the Joker was like, nah, bro, we're doing our own thing. Yeah. So is that going to be a thing where now we see them taking other characters or villains and just put them like an Elseworld story, just do a whole new spin on it that has nothing to do with the comics besides using the name and like city?
I think just by necessity, I think we're going to get that. I think that's why Marvel is doing that What If series on Disney Plus. I think again by necessity, you're
that's based off. But that's based off their comic books.
It is,
yeah.
But I think that's them kind of started saying like, hey, let's start telling and see how the audience reacts.
You almost like a tester.
Yes, exactly. Because again, you're telling they want the success of these superhero films to continue for a very long period of time. Mm-hmm. Well, to do that, you're gonna have to start getting creative. And you're going to have to start drifting into what if this character was like this? What if he behaved like that?
True.
What if he wasn't, what if you did, like with the case of the Joker, what if we knew his name and his backstory?
Or even giving, what Sony's doing, giving villains their own movies. I guess, Joker obviously is the same thing too.
Like
but
Morbius.
That's a new, Morbius, Venom, Joker, and there's some others in the works that are rumored to be coming out. So I feel like villain movies is actually just that is the next big thing.
Yeah, it's inevitable. And again, going back to what we've been saying over the past few weeks, just with the streaming wars, I mean, we're going to get so much content that we're going to be getting every angle of the comic book universe, I think.
Yeah.
In live action form.
First and foremost, I'm a fan, so I am all for it. As long as you just give me good stories, I'm going to want to eat this up all day long.
There is a conversation to be had about oversaturation, obviously.
Yes.
But
if they're good, But speaking of the Joker, staying in the DC universe, Matt Reeves' Batman film will be pulling a lot of inspiration from Sherlock Holmes,
right?
Which makes a lot of sense as, Batman was heavily based off of Sherlock Holmes being the world's greatest detective and all that. So I'm really, really excited about that. Apparently the Riddler is going to be the Moriarty of the Batman movie, and then Catwoman is going to be the Irene Adler of this movie, which is really, really cool. So that basically means that the Riddler is going to be the main villain in this movie, one would assume.
If that's true.
If that's true, yeah. If this rumor holds true, that would be the case, that the Riddler's the main antagonist. And that's awesome. I love me the Riddler, so that could be really, really, really cool.
Well, Riddler's one of my favorite Batman villains.
Yeah.
Paul Dano is a great pick. But I'm also a huge, lifelong Sherlock Holmes fan. I have all the Sherlock Holmes books in my library at home. I've read them my whole life. I read them to my kids. So this news, when it broke, I saw it when it broke, and I got like giddy like a schoolgirl.
I know. One of the things they're saying too, if with this rumor, is that Jim Gordon will be the Watson to Sherlock's,
which is amazing.
To Batman's Sherlock, yeah. So
because they've never done anything like that live action.
No, and it's one of my favorite aspects from the comics. A lot of my favorite Batman stories are when Batman closely teams up with Jim, and to see that live action, we've got
the closest you can get is Nolan's films.
Nolan's Batman films have done that stuff, which is really, really cool. But I think this could be better if they approach it more like the comic books. Like,
they're going
more
that noir detective.
If it's more of like a tag team where where Gordon is literally at the crime scene with Jim, with Batman, and then he basically gives him a lead to do something else, or maybe Jim even tries to get his hands in some action as well, where he gets
his hands dirty.
His hands are a little bit. Some scuffles going. Some scuffles? Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word.
Scuffle's
a word, but not scuffles.
It's like an old person word.
Yeah.
it's like Grandpa says scuffle. Y'all getting a scuffle out there?
I just made it plural.
I don't know why he's also from the country, but he is.
But I mean, it really, really makes sense when you think about it, though, because a lot of rumors are saying that this is going to be heavily based off of Batman: The Long Halloween, which is one of the most iconic Batman comic books and stories of all time. So we're going to be getting multiple villains, that real detective feel, which it seems like a no-brainer. Like, Batman is known as the world's greatest detective, yet out of the numerous live-action movies he's gotten, there is yet to be one heavily focusing on his detective aspect.
Definitely the most obvious. It's the lowest hanging fruit, and no one has grabbed it. Which that happens a lot, actually.
Yeah, it's really Matt Reeves is all like, give me it, I'll take it. None of you want it, I'll do it.
It's genius, and everything we've heard about this so far just sounds like the greatest thing ever made. Because the three things that as far as rumor, as for what it is, what the Batman is going to be, how they're structuring it story wise, is The Long Halloween, Batman the Animated Series, and now Sherlock Holmes. That just sounds like the greatest. It's like the holy trinity
Could I say something?
of delicious.
Can I say something?
You can say whatever you like. It's our podcast.
You had me at Batman the Animated Series. Says in sexy voice.
Yeah, his obsession.
Dude, because that new art, because, that Batman the Animated Series, I think the reason why it's so timeless and, so many people like me are obsessed with it is... it's got that Art Deco where it's got like that Jim Fleischer stuff where it's timeless. Like you could watch that another 25, 30 years from now and it's still going to hold up because it's the art style and just the stories they told and the way they approached it was, timeless. Again, it's the best word I could use to describe it. And again, I say it all the time. I'm a broken record, but it's what got me in the comic book. So it has a very special place in my heart.
We both grew up on it.
Yeah.
Like I grew up on it as well. It was one of my favorite shows to watch, as a kid. It was a lot of people can say that. It was just a brilliant show. You watch it now as an adult. And even like for me now as a storyteller myself and just as an adult that consumes entertainment, I watch it and I'm still shocked at how good
you actually pick up on more
really
of the story beats and
do.
innuendos and
More
stuff as an adult.
Yeah.
And can I just add the Batman the Animated Series is responsible for me flunking tests and stuff like that because when I got home from school I was not about to study or do homework. I was all about Fox Kids, the hour block of Batman the Animated Series. I was like, sorry math.
Listen,
I'm going to be vengeance
you
for
had your
tonight.
priorities in order. Well done.
But going off of that in talking about more of Batman in the live action front, we got the Snyder Cut, continuing to Swiffer the internet, sweep the internet. Yeah. More of that's coming online as Jason Momoa,
Junkie XL, and Jesse Eisenberg
were
all commenting on it this past
week. They want the Snyder Cut to be released. Now, I've been very vocal on the show and social media and stuff. Now, I'm all about the Snyder Cut. As far as I do want to see it. Why wouldn't I want to see it? For better or for worse, whether it's good or bad, I want to see it, But I will say I am a little annoyed of just how relentless the whole release the Snyder Cut, movement, you could say, has been. I get it, especially from Zack Snyder. This was his baby. If you spend years, well, first of all, if you grew up loving something and then you get the chance to make something and you are making something and you're spending years, doing your take on it,
right,
and then only for it not, for you to basically be taken away from it or, get cut off for XYZ reasons, I get it. That's gonna suck.
Sure.
So it's completely understandable. But at the same time, we've been 2.5 years, 3 years out. And,
right.
And as cool as it is to every night, one of the newest things is the Martian Manhunter. He just said that he was going to be in the film. He released artwork of it or not final artwork, but a teaser, storyboard art of it. Darkseid was supposed to be in it and all that fun stuff. And he's
not to mention they ripped Green Lantern out.
Yeah, Green Lantern, and then a bunch of storyboards and new pictures we never seen that he's this would have been the movie. Batman would look like this. Darkseid this that. So I want to see it, but I'm just at the same time, it's almost like beating a dead horse. Where I'm I want to see it, but I don't think Warner Brothers is ever going to give it to us. And I'm just a little over it.
Yeah, really. there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of reasons why Warner Brothers it's not going to benefit them to do it. But it would also be it would be offering a lot of goodwill to fans to do it. But of course, even if they do that, the chances are the same fans that have been just petitioning literally to have this Snyder's Cut released are going to, if they do release it, then they're going to say, see, this is why he should be allowed to finish his vision. Right. They're going to be calling for him to
100%.
come back to the platform to finish out the rest of the vision. So it's like a lose-lose. But the difference between Batman versus Superman and the Justice League, as far as Snyder's, is Batman, when they released the extended cut of BVS, it was extra scenes. It just made the film longer, but it was still Zack Snyder's film.
Yeah.
Justice League, it appears to be an entirely different movie, completely. So, it doesn't appear that the VFX were finished, and there's a lot of work that would still have to do with it, which is another thing that falls in the category of very unlikely to happen.
Because they would have to
Because Warner Brothers would have to
more
pour
money.
Millions and millions of dollars into finishing it to even be able to release it. And I just don't see that happening.
No, and it's one of those things too. Warner Brothers has clearly moved on. Matt Reeves is, you know, working on his Batman trilogy right now.
Zack Snyder's working on other projects at this point.
Joker was highly successful.
Yep.
You got Shazam, Wonder Woman. The second Wonder Woman is about to come out. So they've moved on.
Yeah.
They've lightened up their tone. They've made their changes. And, you know, to their credit, Aquaman was hugely successful, $1 billion movie.
Yep.
Wonder Woman was really good.
Successful.
Shazam, people love Shazam. The Joker is going to be $1 billion movie.
Yep.
And everyone is really excited about Matt Reeves' Batman movie.
Yeah.
And then you even have James Gunn's Suicide Squad number 2.
They're moving in a starkly different direction.
So it's for them, from a business standpoint, I get, like, as much as the fan in me wants to see it, from a business perspective, I see it's like there's no real benefit for them to do that, because if it's bad, then it's just like it's bad and people hate it, and if it's good, then people are like, well, why didn't you let him finish his thing? You guys are idiots. You didn't let him finish his movie. So there's really no win-win for them.
Yeah, it's unlikely to happen. However, especially after like some of the stuff that Zack Snyder's put out, you know, I can't help as a fan just be curious and say, you know, why not? Let's see it.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see it.
For sure.
You know, but especially with all the streaming and HBO, you know, Warner Brothers releasing all of their content on HBO Max. I mean, it would be a great, you know, offer of goodwill to fans, but just, again, the amount of money that would have to go into that, they would have to reassemble the entire crew. They'd have to bring Zack Snyder, all the cast back in to clean it up. There's just no way.
Although I will say a part of me is very sad that Martian Manhunter was supposed to make an appearance in it.
Yeah.
And we didn't see it. That would have been the first.
And Darkseid, dude.
I love me some Darkseid, but I mean, I know and the Variant Nation knows I love me some. It's like Martian Manhunter, Shazam are two of the most underrated like powerhouses, and I love them so much. Especially Martian Manhunter. You know, Justice League Unlimited. Again, going back to the Bruce Timm verse for the animation of DC. Just I grew up on these characters, reading them and watching them in these cartoons, and see Martian Manhunter. We already got Shazam. Awesome.
Yep.
So we were gonna get Martian Manhunter, and that got taken away from us.
And we still are.
Eventually, we'll get a rendition.
Yeah,
of it
it's just not going to be that version. Although we did find out, you know, who Martian Manhunter was too.
Yes,
and that was, I thought, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. It was Man of Steel. It was the general.
Yeah, the general that was in Man of Steel. I can't remember his name.
And I believe he also made an appearance in Justice League as well.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that, but I for sure know he was.
Either way, that would have been a really cool ad.
Yeah,
but you know, and again, I think both of us agree. It's like, yeah, we would love to see it. It would be cool if they did. We're not against it, but the endless. It's shocking that it's still going. There's a lot of passion.
I don't see it dying down.
No, it's actually. I think it's reaching like a fever pitch.
Because now you have like Jason Momoa and everyone
involved
with
the actual
with the
cast
movie.
members coming out and still talking about it. The composer Tom Holkenborg, I think is his last name. Junkie XL. He said he finished the score.
That's crazy.
He said he completed the actual score for it.
You know, you bring up a good point, because I know Danny Elfman was brought in to do the score.
With Joss Whedon.
So, again, with Junkie XL, that means, as we know, music alone can change the entire tone and feel of the movie.
For sure.
So I actually would just be curious, just to, you know, if anything, not even just them finishing the movie, I would just, if he finished it, why didn't they just release the score?
Yeah.
Because that would kind of
because at its most fundamental level, a score is one of the big pieces that carries a film.
100%.
Sets the pacing, sets the tone. But it tells you, just the fact that he's saying, I completed the score, it tells you how far along they were and how different. The fact that they brought Danny Elfman in to add to the score, to complement.
Talk about how crazy that is.
That means it's a totally different film.
Danny Elfman, one of the most iconic composers of all time. I mean, when I personally think of composers, it's obviously like John Williams, Hans Zimmer, and Danny Elfman.
Yeah,
like, you're talking about like the Batman score.
Yep.
Hello, like it's Danny Elfman. He also, most people, or I guess some people, don't know that he is the voice of Jack Skellington when singing.
Well,
when singing in The Nightmare Before Christmas, which I thought is hilarious, because he had a live concert a few years ago and he sung.
And it's
live.
amazing.
It's so good.
It's amazing.
We're just coming off of Halloween, so it's still like fresh in my brain.
Danny Elfman is actually doing a masterclass. I just
awesome.
saw that a couple weeks ago, and I was like, subscribe.
But speaking of Zack Snyder, as we know, before he did anything for the Justice League or Superman and all that fun stuff, he did Watchmen. Watchmen is actually one of my favorite superhero movies. I know a lot of people don't talk about it, but I love that movie, and it was why I was so excited for Snyder to take over the DCEU at the time. But now, HBO, we have a brand new Watchmen series, which I know both of us have been loving because it's just really, really good. I know for me personally, I was not excited for it initially. Not that I didn't want to watch it. It was just, sometimes you just watch stuff and it's not that you think it's bad. It's just for whatever reason you're not hyped about it. But I knew I was going to watch it, and obviously I did. And now we're 3 episodes in at the time of shooting this third podcast, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah,
very good.
Yeah, we talked about it after the first episode, and there was just a ton of questions. That's all there was questions.
Yeah,
and we weren't really sure where it was going, how much of the Watchmen universe we were going to actually see in the series. We knew we were going to get Dr. Manhattan at some point because I didn't know at the time, but he was in the trailer. But now
that's actually better for you that it was a surprise.
It was.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Spoiler alert. Always. No. We got.
What are you trying to do here, Tim? What are you trying to do?
I'm just gonna have your feed get blown up on Twitter. No. So now we know who the main characters are.
Yes. Well, before we go in, let's say we're gonna do spoilers.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk freely about this.
So as the first 3 episodes, we are gonna spoil the crap out of it because there's no real way to talk about it without giving spoilers because it'll just be so
if you
vague.
haven't seen the first 3 episodes of The Watchmen on HBO, just to be very clear what Watchmen we're talking about, stop now or fast forward to skip to where we're done talking about this.
Yeah. Before I guess we dive in though, we got to talk about the craziest thing that happened in episode 3. Which is all the people are pulling the clip out. They're putting it on Instagram. I saw it last night. We were talking and laughing about it.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about, one, since we already gave a spoiler warning, Laurie Blake is in it, who, for those of you who don't know, is the Silk Spectre, the second Silk Spectre. She makes her debut in episode 3. And in episode 3, towards the end of the episode, she's in a hotel room, and I guess she's lonely, Tim.
Yeah.
She's lonely. And
she's jonesing for some Manhattan.
Yeah, she's feeling the urges, as
the primal urge,
as one would say. She pulls out a silver briefcase, and what is in that silver briefcase, Tim?
Oh my God!
Lo and behold, a big blue Dr. Manhattan pleasure toy.
Dude, I did not know what it was at first. I was trying. I was like, well, I thought it was some kind of scientific tool.
I mean, kinda.
I mean, technically, it is. For some, it is quite.
Some exploration is going down.
Some scientific exploration.
Oh man, no.
But yeah, once it dawned on me what it was, it was just like shocking because it looked like a freaking full sausage rack from Boar's Head. You're just like, where are you putting that thing?
It's like, why did you paint this sausage metallic blue?
Yeah,
why would you do that?
What's happening? What's happening? Unless you're inseminating livestock, you better get that out of here.
Initially, I was like, wait, is she gonna make balloon animals?
And it even had like the blue balls attached.
Yeah, oh dude, it like connected to it somehow.
I was like, is this? Because at first it's like, is this like something from Men in Black? They're trying to erase somebody's memory.
A probing tool. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's what it is.
Oh man, that was unexpected.
Yeah, we just had to get that off because
because I think everybody has been talking about that. To some
there's like
degree,
memes and gifs going around. But besides that. Another thing Dr. Manhattan related in the episode is we learn that there's phone booths around the country that are Dr. Manhattan themed in the sense where you go into these booths and you could send a message to Dr. Manhattan to Mars and leave him a message.
Yeah, it's like a Dr. Manhattan payphone.
Yeah, 100%. It even has his symbol on top, moving, rotating and stuff like that. So she leaves him a message because, again, if you know anything about the Watchmen comic or you watch the movie, she is Dr. Manhattan's ex. They dated.
Right. Yep.
So she's leaving him a message and all that stuff, and she's telling him a joke that's very much
not a joke.
Not a joke.
It's not a joke.
To her, it's a joke.
Yeah,
she says it's a joke.
It's extraordinarily Rorschach.
Yeah, it depends what kind of sense of humor you have. If you have dark sense of humor,
if you like a joke to make your skin crawl, then it's a joke.
But anyway,
it's a good joke.
she's telling him what she thinks is a joke. This joke in a very much Rorschach vein, where she phrases it just like he does in the comic and in the Zack Snyder movie, which was brilliant. I'm loving how they're doing a bunch of homages to all like the original Watchmen characters and stuff, and even like we even got a ton of Hooded Justice in was it the second episode or whatever, with like the Minutemen and all that stuff. They're diving deep, and I just love how it is very much just picking up where the comic left off and telling you what's happening in the world now in 2019. And it actually feels just like a sequel. I mean, it is a sequel to the comic, but it feels like it was already a comic and they're just making it live action. I think David Lindelof is doing that well of a job writing it, and I'm thoroughly shocked, and I'm digging. I love all the questions that were are being brought
the slow burn,
of, like, we don't know what's
unraveling.
going on, and as of this episode, that was the other thing. Jeremy Irons, we now know officially he is Ozymandias.
Yep.
Yeah, and can I just say
when he put on the outfit,
that's what I'm gonna bring up.
Yep.
When he goes into that room, puts on the outfit that is identical to the comic book. Oh man, I was like, you didn't change anything. You literally just took a page out of the comic book, gave it to the costume designer, and was like, make this 100% look like this.
They went
and
to Party City. And they were like, no, but
I like how it kind of looks a little cheesy because just like in Zack Snyder's Watchmen movie,
it's just comic accurate.
Yeah, it's comic accurate, and it kind of plays up in that world where these are just normal people, making themselves vigilante costumes and going out in the world like fighting crime, and I think it works so well.
It does. Everything about the show. After the first episode, we talked about how we weren't sure where it was headed. Are we going to get? But now especially as they've been giving us like the bigger pieces and framing out the world that we're in, it's just so well done from top to bottom.
Yeah.
It's so well written. The performances are great. The casting is wonderful.
Yeah.
And, like every HBO show, the production value is extraordinarily high. So but it's so compelling. And like the original Watchmen, it's and we talked about this originally, it of course is deep into political satire and commentary. And, no matter what side of the aisle you fall on, I think they're really doing a really good job of, they're asking some really hard questions.
Yeah.
And, it's no matter where you fall, it's just compelling and interesting to watch. And it makes you go, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And I'm loving the new characters that they're bringing out. Looking Glass. Oh, I love how he's basically like this modern version of Rorschach in a sense, where he's very reminiscent.
That scene when they're in the pod,
and
they have the reflection off of the image shining onto his mirror mask, and it looks like Rorschach. That was so good.
Every time he eats,
shot.
He's talking to someone who knows him or whatever, he lifts up his mask just over his nose, just like Rorschach did in the comic books.
Or in the third episode where she says, "Take off the mask," and he's like really slowly peels it back because he just
which is again is really
clearly does not like Laurie.
If anyone who's read the Watchmen comic, the original one, knows that Rorschach, he calls his mask his face. Like that is more so who he is than the man underneath. Right. And I like that they're kind of playing that up where the Looking Glass is very hesitant to take off his mask because almost like, he's like, no, this is me.
Everything about him.
Yeah,
his demeanor. They're very much presenting him as the Rorschach of this new storyline and timeline.
And Night Sister, she's great. Her whole look and everything. The spray.
Is it Night Sister or Sister Night?
Now I don't know. It could be Sister Night. Sister Night, Night Sister. Either or.
Night Sister sounds like somebody you'd reach on a 900 number.
You don't know.
How do I know is probably the better question.
Let's go with Sister Night.
Sister Night. Okay.
Either way, her character is really cool, and I just love the look of her. I love how she puts a spray paint over. She's got the hood, and she
looks like she
badass.
should be wearing a katana.
Like she'd be using a katana.
Yeah, she looks like she needs a katana.
Oh man, heads would roll.
Oh,
literally.
So good. So good. Yeah, it's been absolutely great. And at this point now, we know enough. They've showed us enough to where it's like, then the end of the episode of the last episode where she's talking to Dr. Manhattan and she completes her joke and then walks out in the car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I love how ambiguous that is too, where it's like you could take that two ways. One, it could be like Dr. Manhattan like dropping the car on him as like almost like for the final punchline, because then the Mars even kind of like zooms in and it kind of looks like it's like winking at her or whatever.
Yeah, it's basically him letting her know that he got the message and he is listening.
Your joke sucked.
Yeah, your joke. Do better. Yeah, but it's great. I can't wait to see episode 4
for sure. And I could only imagine that if this were only 3 episodes in and we already got Ozymandias confirmed, Silk Spectra, Dr. Manhattan, all the new characters they're introducing, we're in for a treat as we go deeper and deeper, because we're not even halfway through the season yet.
Yeah, any worries about them just leveraging the Watchmen platform for something else is all gone, and it's like we're full Watchmen now.
Want some Night Owl action. That's what I want.
I keep wondering, like, where is that going to come in?
Or even give me like a modern version, because his his night owl I forget what it's called, but the night owl like flying jet thing, isn't it? They already it was in the first episode. Yeah. So like he's clearly there. So
well, and
or
the other
at
thing
least reminiscence of him.
The night owl.
No, yeah.
And the other thing I want to know is who's the guy watching over Ozymandias?
I don't know.
What do they call it? What's his name?
Groundkeeper?
The groundskeeper?
Groundskeeper, yeah.
Yeah, and that makes me that was what I was wondering. I was like, is that
Will, the old man in the wheelchair with that magnet thing that picked him in the car up? Like, what's going on there?
Who's he working with?
Man.
Yeah, there's so many things that there's still plenty of questions, but they've given us enough now to where it's just really it's so good. It's very compelling. I can't wait to see it. And for those of you wondering why we've only seen 3 episodes of this show, we also had some people make comments. It's like I'm worried you guys are a little out of touch. Well, this show is meant to be more like a week in review.
Yeah.
It's not live, so we're not. We
record these a week in advance.
Yeah, we record these a little bit of time in advance. So we're gonna see the next one here in the next couple of days.
Sure.
By the time we come on for the next episode, we'll be talking about that. Well, so that gives you guys time to be with us as well. And we're definitely not a breaking news program.
No. Plus, it's kind of cool to kind of let news build up, so we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it's commentary. It's just talking about the things that are interesting to us, and
100%. But speaking of interesting to us, what's interesting to me, Tim?
I'd give up, Arris. What's interesting to you?
That HBO Max, their streaming service, announced they'll be doing a Green Lantern live-action series.
Oh, yeah.
And a Strange Adventures anthology series.
Yep.
So first, let's start with Green Lantern, because freaking Green Lantern. Now, we know a few years ago when the DCEU was just kicking off and all that stuff, we were told that we were going to get a Green Lantern Corps movie. Right. I guess that's been shelved, and now they're going to be doing this live-action series on HBO Max. Yep. But one, it's HBO. Game of Thrones, like massive Watchmen. Yeah. If they're gonna do a show, they're not gonna be skimping. All right. Yep. Now, it's I don't want this to sound like a dig, but it's not gonna be no CW type
right? No,
like production. They're gonna go all in millions of dollars.
You can look at what they're doing with the Watchmen,
right?
And you can say just based on that purely by itself. You should be very excited about what's coming with Green Lantern.
Yeah, Watchmen. There's a reason why HBO is premium cable. It just means it's going to be higher quality, bigger budgets. Yeah. So the Green Lantern Corps, in a nutshell, they're space cops, right?
Right.
Why has it taken so long for something to be greenlit for this? Because I want to know. Well, I know a lot of people are like, well, who's going to be the main Green Lantern? That's a question I have too. But in
Armie Hammer
as Hal Jordan, that'd be great. But in my perfect world,
that's it. Come on.
I would kind of like it to be like almost like they're already established, and we kind of get origins through flashbacks. That way, we don't have. I know Green Lantern he's been done with Ryan Reynolds, right? But that was was not so great. But I still think you can get the origin across by doing cool like flashbacks and stuff. That way. Because imagine if the opening scene of the freaking show was just we're in space and you see Green Lanterns fighting all these, like they're flying all over the place, like this big Star Wars galactic type battle, but with people with green rings and maybe even red rings and yellow rings.
Are we going to get multiple cores? That's like another good one.
And you see someone saying, you hear a guy saying, Hal, get the heck over here. And then he's like, Guy, what are you talking about? And we get Guy Gardner, Jon Stewart, Hal Jordan, Jessica Cruz. Like, I would love that.
It would be awesome, but I'll be very surprised if they do that.
Yeah, but a fanboy could dream.
A boy can dream.
It's most likely going to be Jon Stewart or Hal Jordan.
Yes. My guess is we're going to get Hal Jordan first.
Okay.
And then they're going to expand into the Green Lantern Corps. Because not much has been done with Green Lantern live action. So, and everybody knows Ryan Reynolds' version doesn't count. That's pretty much been
Taika
completely
Waititi was in that movie?
No.
He was his like best friend. He was like his friend dude. Who was like,
what?
Remember in the trailer when Ryan
We've
Reynolds,
all wiped this from our memory.
Dude, 100%. He looks completely different too. Go back and watch he's in the trailer, or even watch the clip where Green Lantern is in his apartment with his friend, and he turns into the Green Lantern for the first time.
Yeah. I remember that scene.
That's Taika.
Oh my God!
How crazy is that?
I have no recollection.
Taika was in a DC movie, and we all forgot.
That's hilarious. Wow, I bet you won't be in the new one.
No, probably not.
But because they have done so little, I think they're going to want to introduce Green Lantern and their version of Green Lantern from scratch. So, and then build from there. And for me, I think that's the smartest way to go, because yes, comic book fans, real comic book fans know about Green Lantern, but a lot of people don't.
No.
And the people that they're after, these studios, they're after the people that don't really know. The ratio of people that know a lot about comics versus those that don't but are fans of superhero
Are you saying they're
movies
the enemy,
and television
Tim? Is that what you're telling me? They're the enemy?
It's just, you're just in a different place in
My
your life.
comic book brethren, unite!
Comic comrades unite! But yeah, I think they want to bring in, that big, gigantic pool of people that just are real big fans of superhero TV shows and movies, but don't necessarily read comics.
No, I mean,
So they're going to want to introduce, I think, who the Green Lantern, what the history of is,
And I get that from a business standpoint and stuff, but like as I said, a fanboy could dream.
And we have never gotten a good version of that.
No.
So I would like to see that.
Well, to that point, one of on the rumor mill is that they will be focusing on one Green Lantern, right? That is what everyone's talking about now. Now, whether it's going to be Jon Stewart or Hal Jordan, we don't know. Obviously, those are the two most obvious picks.
Idris Elba. Get Idris Elba in there.
But he's in Suicide Squad too.
I don't care. Get him anyway.
They're saying towards the end of this season, like the season 1 finale, could be setting up for Blackest Night. Which, if anyone knows anything about Blackest Night, is one of the most epic events that the DC has ever done. You got all the Lantern Corps. You got the red Lantern Corps, the violet, blue, yellow, green, white, black. So that would be the budget on that would have to be insane.
Yeah, no, I don't even know.
To do that right and not look good VFX.
Unless they're doing what Marvel's doing, and they start building toward that, and then they do a Blackest Night, like DCEU run where they start bringing things together.
Oh,
and
like they
play out the story in film on the big screen.
Yes,
that would be smart.
I would be down for that.
If they gave us the initial story, they built out who Green Lantern is, and they start introducing some storylines, and then they do a in continuity.
I feel like that makes the most with all because we're in the streaming wars right now, and we're getting all this premium TV.
Yeah.
Like we're in the golden age of TV too, because we never got TVs of this quality before. With these big, you got the freaking Lord of the Rings. What is that, like $1 billion budget?
$1 billion. Yeah.
We got
billion plus.
Yeah, Mandalorian we were talking about earlier, $20 million an episode.
Yep, insane.
That's just insane. So these are like movie budgets you're talking about here. But we're getting to enjoy them on our TVs at home. So there's no reason why they couldn't connect that to the DCU, and I would be all for it because we'd also. Like with Disney Plus, we'd also be able to get more of it.
Yeah.
Because who's to say they're going to do a Booster Gold movie or a Justice League Dark movie? And if they don't want to put it in theaters, give it to us on HBO.
You bet.
Everyone will consume it. Yeah. I'd be totally down.
And with the amount of money that these companies now that are going to war on the streaming platforms, the amount of money that they're willing to shell out, and the amount of content we're willing to get, we're going to be getting all of the, like we talked about already, the what ifs and and branching out different characters. They're going to be digging in deep into the reservoir, kind of like what Marvel's been doing with some of their C and D list, characters where they just kind of resurrect them and give them new life. I think you're going to see a ton of that. And with Warner Brothers owning DC, they have to do something to meet Disney on the playing field, on the battlefield, right, to match what they're doing, because it's all in con. Now you've got Kevin Feige, fully taking the reins as the chief creative officer over at Marvel, and now everything is going to be in continuity. Everything is going to be this synergistic approach from publishing all the way through.
It's pretty crazy.
TV.
It's pretty crazy. But Green Lantern isn't the only thing they're bringing. They're actually bringing some more content. We got Strange Adventures, which is going to be an anthology series, very much in the vein, and it's said to have the vibe of the Twilight Zone,
which is so cool.
I know, very, very cool. So they're saying it's going to focus kind of on the perspective of humans a little more, like how the superheroes and supervillains affect humanity and kind of intertwine the two. We're still going to get the heroes in it. Booster Gold is actually rumored to be one of the main heroes in it, or at least in one of the episodes, because again, anthology.
Yeah.
But I think that's awesome to have a Twilight / Black Mirror-esque type DC superhero show.
Sure.
That is really, really cool.
It reminds me a little bit of almost like a live action version or a hybrid of Marvel's What If and what was that show? Apple's were bringing it back. Amazing Stories.
Amazing Stories, yeah.
And it's almost like the superhero version of a marriage between those two things.
I wonder almost if
I like the Twilight Zone spin.
The Twilight Zone spins
super
forever.
Fun.
I wonder, because all these studios know what each other. They talk behind the scenes. They kind of know what everyone's working on. So I wonder if it's even one of those things where they're like, well, Marvel's doing What If, and they're doing, Apple's doing Amazing Stories. We kind of need our own thing like that to compete with it.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm wondering if maybe it came out of necessity.
Always. That happens constantly.
Yeah.
So, and, it's kind of like, the Witcher, which we'll get here in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how that's going to be their, and Netflix's version of Lord of the Rings or HBO's version of Game of Thrones. You know what I mean? They try to, like I said, level the playing field. And
I'm very curious. And then we're also getting DC Superhero High, which is
it's like a kid, it's like a kid family show,
it's
right?
it's a half-hour comedy series with a group of superheroes.
But what's the target audience?
I
didn't look at that one.
Well, let's see. The description right here is DC Superhero High is a half-hour comedy series about a group of superpowered teenagers at a boarding school for gifted children. So
this is trying to appeal to the Harry Potter audience.
Yeah,
probably.
but I mean, it seems like we're going in that teen.
I'm saying like the tweens.
Yeah, but I'm curious because, like you said, it could be very much for the tweens or the younger. But it could be if they do it like Harry Potter, where it could appeal to both, where the older audience will still like it, and it's not too Disney Channel. You know what I mean?
For sure.
So I'm curious for all
of them. It really does
very
very much depend on how they do that one.
Yes, but I'm curious. I mean,
because it could be super cutesy,
and
just very kid.
But
very
Teen
much
Titans
kids.
Go is pretty hilarious, and that's very very
kiddie.
But
that's different though. we went to see Teen Titan Go the movie, and in the theaters, of course, with my kids, and
I didn't go alone. I would never go alone.
No, I wasn't me by myself with a bucket of popcorn. But I think I laughed as much or more than they did.
Yeah,
because I picked up on some of the jokes they didn't get.
Exactly. That's it's like the Shrek movies. They do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
But moving along, like you mentioned a minute ago, we got a brand new trailer for Netflix's Witcher.
Yeah.
Which I don't know much about Witcher at all, but I do know these trailers look really, really cool.
Really good.
And I'm a big Henry Cavill fan. I think he's a solid actor.
He's ripped
to shreds. Yeah, I just want to put my head on his body and come home to my wife and be like, ta-da! But it looks. I love the fantasy feel it's got going on. It's got that Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, just fantasy, World of Warcraft type stuff.
Yeah.
And I love when we see in the trailer that he's got the white long hair, just looking like a badass, and then his eyes turn completely black. I think that just looks so cool.
It looks really
and the
cool.
witchcraft aspect of it, because I'm a big fan of that whole wizardry witchcraft stuff. It's so interesting, and you can do so many cool
You're
stuff. You're
preaching to the choir there, buddy.
Yeah.
That's my wheelhouse, hardcore. Yeah, fantasy genre is probably my favorite genre. So
have you ever watched Lord of the Rings? Have you ever heard of that franchise?
I've heard it's a small film franchise.
Yeah. What about The Hobbit?
Old classic book series.
Yeah.
I haven't really gotten
Tolkien,
much into it. Tolkien.
Yeah.
I think I've already mentioned, but I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. But but this very much looks like it's Netflix's Game of Thrones. It looks very much like that's how they're trying to do it. But the book series was very popular, and the character is very cool. We got a much bigger look at it than the original trailer, and it's with this past trailer, and it looks.
And
really
what else? I'm like, I want this to be a huge success. Purely obviously I want to enjoy it and have another awesome show, but I want this to be a big win for Cavill.
Me too.
I feel like he got so
totally
gypped for Superman because he was the perfect Superman. He looked like Superman. I think he did a great job playing Superman. It's gonna be hard to recast
if he's not
Superman
if he's not Superman anymore. I feel like that is such a loss for the fan community.
And he seems genuinely like a nice guy. I've seen him in interviews and stuff like that. He seems like a really cool, down to earth dude.
A genuine gentleman.
A scholar, some would say. But no, I think I'm really excited for the show. It comes out early December, right?
Early December. Yep.
So be on the lookout for that on Netflix.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one.
But moving along, we've talked about last week about Kevin Feige, and we've talked about it even before that. Kevin Feige now is going to be
mentioned it also.
Is basically in charge of all things Marvel now, publishing TV, movies, all that stuff. And in the wake of that, Jeff Loeb was released from his duties of Marvel TV.
Yeah.
And several shows got canceled, such as Cloak and Dagger, Damage Control, the Ghost Rider spinoff that was coming, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
So, he's cleaning house. He's making room for that synergy. He's like, this doesn't line up with future plans.
Yeah, it makes all the sense in the world. The TV division especially was kind of all over the place, especially after what happened with the Netflix series, the various Netflix Daredevil. Even though Daredevil I thought was a good series.
Yeah, especially
the Punisher was good too.
Real quick, the third season of Daredevil
was the best one,
and it didn't get nearly as much love as it should have.
No, not
that season was so good. Yep. And we
talked about it at the time. We're like, how are we not hearing more
about
this?
I was so excited to keep watching the next episode, and it seems like it fell flat as a whole, but it was great.
It was very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I felt like that one got caught. The Daredevil series, unfortunately, got caught up in a lot of the negative view of the other series that were involved, even though each one of them had their own kind of fan base. But just as a whole, the Iron Fist and things like that, they just kind of, it was like people started losing interest.
100%.
And they just weren't liking the way whether it was the direction that they were going with it or the tone of the shows or whatever it was. And it just started slowly falling off. And, ultimately Disney just wanted to get their characters off of Netflix because now they're direct competitors. Yep. With the streaming platform. So they needed to clear that out and everything like that. But now Kevin Feige's taking it to the next level, and he's literally going through and he's just, whatever wasn't already canceled, he's making sure that that's clear and understood. He's just canceling everything that doesn't perfectly align with what they're doing in the broader Marvel Cinematic Universe, including the new shows that are coming on Disney Plus.
Yep.
And then, Jeff Loeb, leaving. It's not really a surprise because he was kind of at the helm for all of these different series. And it was very much all over the place. Cloak and Dagger kind of lived in its own planet, and all of them were just kind of scattered. And even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it fit, but it felt like it was off by itself.
100%. I mean, and they, to their credit, they tried, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Netflix all the Marvel Netflix series were supposed to be, they were tied to the MCU.
Yeah.
But they were never going to cross over. So
right. And it never felt like they were.
No.
It
They
felt
were just
very
small
much
little mentions.
Yeah, and the quality was a notch down in terms of, even like the approach to the stories and how they were being told.
But I'm actually kind of excited that Feige's coming in and, basically making things more cohesive and making, going forward. He's like, look, this isn't going to fit with plans going forward. And, to his credit, everything he's done with the MCU has been awesome. And that's because mainly, he's had a plan and he stuck to it and he knew what the end goal was.
Exactly.
So, he already knows what that is and he knows the stuff is going to line up with that. Yeah. So he's like, just because they're canceling like these shows doesn't mean we're not going to get new iterations of
right.
them.
No,
like,
absolutely.
He's probably actually doing it because he has plans for like another Daredevil, maybe another. He wants to introduce Cloak and Dagger in one of the Disney shows or just one of the movies. So,
ultimately the characters and the storylines are going to be served better because everything's going to be brought into a clearer, more concise, overall approach to the stories. So, and the characters. So the characters we're going to get are going to make more sense. And I think the coolest part is, people are going to see the characters they're used to seeing on the big screen. They're going to be seeing reprising their roles on the smaller screen. So, that kind of pass through is it's going to serve the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including TV, better.
Feige is doing some interesting stuff. As I said last week, the only bit I'm mildly concerned about is the publishing branch.
Side, yeah.
But we already ranted about that. I ranted about that in the last episode.
And we did get, we got full confirmation. He's the big dog. They answer to him. And what that's going to mean for the comic side, we'll wait and see. But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
For sure. But moving on, so Deadpool. Everyone loves Deadpool. The Deadpool movies are some of the most successful superhero movies out. Ryan Reynolds is an amazing Deadpool. Yeah. He's made, that character was already popular, but he's made that character just even more so. And we found out over this past weekend that the director of the first Deadpool, Tim Miller, who was going to direct the second one, but for whatever reasons, it didn't turn out that way. He told us, though, that his plans for Deadpool 2, though, were to include the Thing in the final boss fight with Juggernaut, Deadpool, and Cable. Now, this would have been the coolest thing ever. So let's go back. So first of all, what was genius about Deadpool 2 in the marketing is that they didn't even give a hint or clue that the Juggernaut was in the movie.
Right.
Until you're watching the movie, and then halfway during the movie, we find out, oh my God, the Juggernaut is in this freaking movie.
Yeah, we saw it together and we were smacking each other like, is that the Juggernaut?
so cool, because I had no idea.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. So let me paint a picture. So imagine you get that reveal, right? And you're like, oh my God, the Juggernaut, freaking, that's insane. We got the Juggernaut in this movie. That's so freaking cool. I had no idea. And then we get to the final boss fight, and you see Cable, and Deadpool fighting Juggernaut. And then they're down and out. Juggernaut has the upper hand, and out of nowhere, you just hear, it's clobbering time.
Yeah.
And
the Thing
comes in. I would have lost my crap.
Solid right cross across Juggernaut's face.
My fanboy heart would have exploded.
We're back to A Boy Can Dream.
Dude, and it was gonna happen.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't keep
wonder
that.
because these deals with the deal between Disney and Fox, those deals, they're aware that those are in the works a lot longer than they say they are.
Yeah. For sure.
They'll say they don't. But I wonder if that played any kind of a role. If they were just like, no, we got plans for
maybe
for
because
that.
rumor is that Fantastic Four is going to be just into the MCU relatively soon.
It's definitely good.
So maybe
he said it's going to.
Yeah, so maybe that's probably it. But I just can't help but thinking to get a twofer for them to not know that two of the most popular characters in the Marvel universe were in the movie until you're watching the movie. That would
have been a lot of fun.
Oh my god, because it wouldn't have been done before. Because as amazing as Endgame and Infinity War and all these big MCU movies are. You know who's going to be in it. Thanos is in it. The Hulkbuster armor suit is in it. That Vision is in it. But we had no idea that these A-list characters were going to be in the movie.
It does give you a small hint at just how different Tim Miller's version of it would have been. He's creeping into Zack Snyder territory. Release the Snyder Cut,
dude. Release the Miller Cut.
Release the
I'm
Miller
creating
Cut.
that freaking hashtag.
Release the Miller Cut.
Oh man, we started something.
Except for they'd have to shoot an entirely new movie.
Would have to do the same thing for the Snyder Cut.
Hey, that's what put it on the streaming service.
No, exactly. Disney owns Fox.
That's right.
Disney Plus. Throw it on there.
But that would have been amazing. Yeah.
It would have all. Again, it kind of makes me sad. I almost wish I didn't know that because now I'm just sad.
Yeah.
But anyway, the last bit of news we have to talk about is that director Phil Lord of Into the Spider-Verse, as we all know, went to Twitter this weekend and decided to post a little teaser trailer to officially confirm that Into the Spider-Verse 2 will be coming out in 2022.
Which is awesome.
Yes.
We all knew that was coming.
For sure.
You walked out of the theater knowing there's going to be a sequel, and then it made a whole bunch of money, and it was one of the most acclaimed animated films in forever. So it's what we finally have a date of release, and I could not be more excited because that was one of my favorite movies of 2018.
Oh, easily.
It was certainly probably the biggest surprise film for me because I'm already a huge fan of animation. You know that. I'm just a fan of the entire genre, but it was so different. Mm-hmm. The animation style that they used was so different. It was
comic book
so
paneling
refreshing.
they would do.
Yeah. It was just a really well done movie from top to bottom, animation or not. The characters were all great. The voice acting was brilliantly done. It was just such a good story. And as far as Spider-Man films go, I think that's my favorite Spider-Man film ever made, live action or otherwise.
I would 100% agree with that. I mean, because, to your point, it was just so well done. The characterization of all the characters, Miles Morales, his father, Kingpin, the villain, you felt for him.
Yeah.
Even the core of it, what it means to be a hero and be Spider-Man. I think it actually kind of hit me in the feels.
It really did.
Like a lot of that
the relationship between Miles and his father.
Yeah, and his uncle even.
And his uncle.
All that stuff. Like it really, in Stan Lee's cameo.
Yeah.
It just, everything about it.
And it was, when it came out, it was right after Stan Lee had passed away.
Yeah, so it hit harder.
Yeah.
I remember we were in the theater together and the audience
everyone's like, oh,
you kind of heard like a sigh or like, but like in a happy way, kind of like, just remembering Stan the man. But again, I would say it is my favorite Spider-Man film as well. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man.
Oh,
He is my favorite live action Spider-Man. He's a great Spider-Man. But I at the same time, this movie just captured, the best way I could put it is just capture what it meant to be a hero and be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So well. And Miles Morales was such a good character. It was written so well.
I think even just beyond, I think they did such a good job of capturing that kind of corner of comics, that hope and being a hero of comics. And Spider-Man in its truest form does, I think, one of the best jobs as a character of really relaying that message.
Because he's the little guy sticking up.
Exactly. He's the underdog. But he's granted these powers, and it's like, how do I use them? And he's just this kid in high school.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so it's that, and I just had. They captured all of it so well.
They really, captured the whole, the famous line, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
That movie captures that line perfectly.
Yes.
And we're getting a sequel, and I'm also excited because we're getting spin-offs. They're saying we're gonna get a Spider-Ham movie, possibly a new Spider-Man Noir.
Spider-Man Noir.
And if the post-credit scene for the first Spider-Verse movie is any indication about the second, we're probably gonna be getting Spider-Man 2099 in the second. And I want him to get a solo movie. I love me some Spider-Man 2099.
Oh man, that'd be great.
when I was a kid, I grew up reading a lot of how I read comics, because when you're a kid, you don't have your parents aren't going to buy you every single comics every week. Like now I can go to the comic book shop
Right,
or a Comixology every week and buy whatever comics I want. But when you're like, 8, 10, 12 years old or whatever, your parents are not going to be dropping $150 every week on comic books.
But now we have the wallet.
Yeah. But, my dad would do work and stuff at Barnes & Noble's, whether, he was, getting, work and stuff done there. So I would go to the graphic novel section and I would read the omnibus of like the Ditko and Stanley Spider-Man stuff.
That classic art, man.
That classic stuff. But also, the comics I did get, like the 2 titles my parents would buy me all the time. They're like, you pick like a handful of titles, and I would always get Batman and Spider-Man, because those are my favorites, still 2 of my favorite superheroes till today. And Spider-Man 2099 was a big comic book. He was, that's when he came out and stuff like that. You had the Clone Saga, Scarlet Spider, all that stuff. So I'm really attached to Miguel O'Hara, which is Spider-Man 2099.
Right.
So to see him get, a feature film in theaters would make 9-year-old Arris very, very happy.
And if it's in the hands of the same creators of the Into the Spider-Verse films, it's gonna be really good.
Yeah, I am super
I'm
excited.
really hoping that they keep continuity there as storytellers.
Yes.
Bring maybe, add on compliments, but, as far as, directors or writers or whatever, so that it changes up a little bit. But as far as the core creative team, I really hope they keep them together, because they got something special going there.
100%. I'm very curious to see where they go with the second one, because it's a Spider-Verse. They're bringing more Spider characters in. So there was already a bunch in the first one, so sky's the limit. And who's the villain? Who's the villain in the second one?
I can't wait to find out. I mean, because they did a different spin on Dr. Octopus.
They did. And the Green Goblin was also in here, too. Mm-hmm. So I'm very curious to see where they go.
They touched on quite a few of the big ones.
They did.
But
we didn't get Venom yet.
We did not get Venom. But are they going to put Venom in there?
I don't know.
Because they're doing the live-action Venom films.
Yeah, but I mean...
Can you imagine if they brought Venom in and they let Tom Hardy voice the character?
Or they bring Tom Holland in, and he is the MCU Spider-Man, but just in animation form, he's being voiced by Tom Holland.
There's so many rumors and there's so much rumbling about them collaborating, Marvel and Sony, and allowing that to drift over.
Because the fact that it's the Spider-Verse... I mean, if you got characters like Spider-Ham, who's basically a Looney Tunes Spider-Man, anything's possible. But
and we don't know. We have no clue what the real details were of the deal Sony and Disney made.
We don't.
We know it was only one picture long, but we don't know what everything, what all was brought to the table to make that possible, or where it's going to go after that.
Yeah.
So,
but I think we've hit the end of our rant for today.
Yeah, I think we covered
it was a girthy
Every
episode.
time we say, we're going to focus on one thing this week and zero in on one topic.
The truth of the matter is,
so much stuff.
There's so much stuff, and we're big nerds. We genuinely like to talk about this stuff.
What we love, you're going to hear about. So that's pretty much it.
But with that said, again, we want to remind you guys that this podcast is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, all that fun stuff. You could also find this on our Variant the Podcast YouTube channel, as well as our main channel. But other than that,
we'll see you next time
when we talk about all things comics.